I want to talk about game development just a little bit. I myself have experiences in developing video games before, a very small tech game in Greenfoot, but still, video game. And in the process of developing said video game, like programming the assets, the AI behaviors, the stage, the menus, the classes, I have managed to put myself in a glimpse of what it's like to become a game developer and the intricacies of what and how video games are made. Albeit it's a very tiny peephole into the gaming development world, but it's enough for me to know at least what's in the surface. It's like if video games are magic tricks, and I had to see how the magic tricks are performed and the technicalities of what creates the illusion of magic to all the spectators out there. And with the incredibly easy access to the internet, anyone can be a software developer, whether it be for typical everyday software or video games. As Mark Kern, former game developer of Blizzard Entertainment, who works in titles like Diablo 2, StarCraft, WoW, etc., the steps on becoming a game developer are a lot easier today as opposed to last time. With the incredibly easy access of the internet and so many tutorials and information regarding programming languages and softwares, forums with incredibly huge and active communities that can assist you at almost every time and every problem, the barriers of becoming someone who can code video games are getting less and less. The next barrier is in terms of publishing, but that's not really important when you don't have something to publish. What's important is the fact that you can produce one. As someone who has experienced what it's like to code things, program things, and web development and all, you can start off, and if you keep on practicing, you'll get to make your first game. And like Mark Kern said, your starting game can simply just be a text adventure game. That's perfectly fine. I can even make a text adventure game in Java. I don't really need to learn C#. I can just use Java to create the interface and the choices that the players make and branching trees and storylines that can be created through the text adventure game. Anybody can be a game developer, web developer, or any sorts of software developer. Your dreams on being one is just a couple of clicks away and a couple of tutorials away. They just need the required effort to do so. It's going to take months or even years of constantly and consistently practicing on the codes, but when you have the will and effort to master all of them, and especially being consistent in your learning, you're going to be a game developer in probably less than a year. All you need to do is just look for the tutorials and, of course, a lot of patience and a lot of practice. You can't be an instant master in just a couple of seconds. So why am I talking about this? Well, now that the issue of being a game developer is not a problem, some people like to focus on the social aspects of it instead of the technicalities because codes are not interesting. Codes are objective, and objectivity in this society is the greatest evil that this world has ever created. And who better to illustrate this than the moral guardians themselves?
Why diversity matters in the modern video games industry.
Finally, the moral guardian is going to answer one of the most confusing questions that I have with these articles and these people. Why does diversity freaking matter? Let's find the answer together, shall we?
When Katie Stone Perez's daughter first tried to ride a two-wheel bicycle, the little girl took her Super Mario plush toy and put him in the basket in the front of the handlebars. Intrigued, Katie asked why the little plumber toy had to accompany her on the ride. Because he taught me to never give up, her daughter said.
Wow. Add that to the list of things that never happened, and also add that to the list of appeal to emotion arguments.
Perez know a thing or two about the power of video games as a reflective, empowering, and emotional influence in the lives of players. While working as a senior program manager for Microsoft ID Xbox program, which seeks to support independent development on the console, she worked closely with Kenny Roy, creator of forthcoming puzzle platformer I Hope, aimed at children affected by cancer. It's a story of a girl who must help defend her island home against a mysterious sickness.
I think cancer patients can still play games that are just fun in general. Does it have to exclusively target cancer patients? Cancer patients can still play Mario too. They don't have to play That Dragon Cancer or something. I mean, the idea is to have fun, but fun is problematic to these people. I don't know.
Perez also supported the launch of We Love Chicago, a narrative game about multiracial communities living in the city's urban areas. And right now, she's helping out at the Xbox-sponsored Girls Make Games, a free-week summer camp dedicated to teaching young women how to code and create video games.
I'm not necessarily against the idea of a 3-week summer camp for game development. I'm kind of against the idea of gendering it.
Diversity within the games industry is incredibly important to me, she says. I think we need to back away from this focus on one type of consumer or one type of developer. Some of my favorite gaming experiences come from really diverse creators.
Well, yeah, that's true. The games that I play, they come from different developers and different publishers. what do you mean as one type of consumers? On what basis are they targeted on? You can't just mention one type of consumer and not define what you mean as type. In what basis are you referring to as a type? Is it their identities, or their particular genre interests, or that the game developers are coming from different publishers or different companies? What?
The issue of diversity in gaming has been a hot topic in recent years.
I don't know why it should be a hot topic. I think it's kind of pointless, but these people are the ones who started the discussion, so I guess I shouldn't complain.
The industry traditionally projects an image that is young, white, straight, and male, but there is growing understanding that if only for the sake of releasing more interesting products, this has to change.
These people really can't see that video games can appeal to different people other than straight white men, even if those video games contain nothing but straight white men. Just because the protagonists or the developers are such, doesn't mean that it cannot be appealing to other people. Fun is a universal concept that I'm sure anybody can grasp, regardless of language, race, gender, or sexuality. I have no issue with playing as an American or an Italian. I have no issue with playing as a Russian, black people, or even women. I have no issue in playing as an android that looks like it came out of a maid cafe. I have no issue with playing a car who threw itself and caused a pile-up recreation of that scene from Final Destination 2. Why do you have an issue with people not playing as who they are in games? We play as people who are not us all the time in video games. And people don't mind that because people care more about how fun the games are. Why do you care so much about people being represented? Maybe because you're a racist yourself? Or is it because you want Senpai to notice you?
At the E3 event of June, we saw a string of announcements featuring women and people of color, including Assassin's Creed Origins, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Life is Strange Before the Storm, Uncharted Lost Legacy, and Dishonored Death of the Outsider.
And guess which game in E3 that I'm excited about? None of those. I'm more excited the latest Wolfenstein, who just so happens to have a straight white man as a protagonist. Maybe I'm a closet racist and I didn't realize it, I don't know. Or maybe because Wolfenstein has actually good gameplay and good trailer and something interesting to offer unlike the other games.
While showing off the new features of Forza Motorsport 7, Microsoft used female avatars to reveal the new character creation feature. While talking about Call of Duty World War II, developer Sledgehammer has stressed the vital role of the female French resistance leader, Johnny Rousseau, in the narrative, and the fact that you can build female and people of color characters in the multiplayer mode.
And how are these going to make a filthy brown person like me excited for any of those games? Call of Duty World War II feels like it's trying to capture and replicate the success of Battlefield 1, and it's probably going to be another Activision cash grab. But ooh, female characters, brown people! You can even dress black women as Nazis now, in complete disregard for historical accuracy!
The industry has been improving its depiction of non-white, non-male characters for several years, but in the last 3 E3 events, there's been a real sense of momentum, belief, and priority, as if this isn't just something to pay lip service to, it actually matters from a creative and commercial standpoint.
There's this momentum happening in E3 showing how we, closet racists off of Moral Guardian, can finally show how not racist we are by the presence of video games that don't make us look like racists. Seriously, why does this thing need to be fucking celebrated?
Likewise, PlayStation recently sponsored Pride London, providing a joyous, hugely colorful presence in the parade. It wasn't a top-down corporate endeavor aimed at grabbing some kudos and exposure from a high-profile progressive event. The idea
it was. It really looked like it was.
For every forward step, however, there is often a reminder of how far is left to travel. At the weekend, Develop, the Brighton-based conference for game developers, uploaded a video to YouTube showing an interview with 2 keynote speakers, the married couple Brenda and John Romero. A series of thoughtless on-screen captions erase Brenda's own career, seeming to insinuate that her talk on how to avoid burnout in the games industry was about her partner's career, and not her own 35 years as a game creator.
If you're referring to that John Romero, well, that's because John Romero brings a more significant influence in the video game industry. He's part of the team who made Doom, for God's sake. If what you refer to as erasing career is focusing on John Romero's work instead of his wife, well, I guess not focusing on women is sexist now.
What often get lost in the exhausting, furious online discourse around representation is real-world experience, viewed from the outside when Xbox announces a new range of diverse player avatars, complete with wheelchairs, complete with a greater range of skin tones, complete with more expressive gender-agnostic clothing. It is tempting to be cynical. It is tempting to write efforts off as posturing, but actually...
Yeah, it was. It was freaking posturing. The next couple of sentences is just you trying to make it sound like Sony and Microsoft bribed you to make it sound good.
A while ago, Xbox got a new feature in settings called Copilot. It lets console owners map a game's controls onto two separate joypads, so two people can have access at the same time. A lot of core gamers shrugged at this seemingly arcane feature, but other groups felt very differently. Copilot is one of the things I'm most proud of at Xbox, says Perez. You can use it to help people with disabilities or people who are just less experienced at games. While playing, instead of taking the controller away from them, you can say, "Oh, I'll get this jump," and you'll get it and then carry on.
That is the dumbest freaking feature I have ever seen in my entire life. A lot of gamers shrugged on this seemingly arcane feature. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. How do you think that this is able to function in practice? So I imagine one guy with only one arm and the other guy holding the controller. How are you able to sync the actions that you and your partner want to take without some form of a Pacific Rim-esque mind drifting is beyond me. I couldn't even coordinate my brother to do basic things in games, and he's not disabled, and he has one normal functioning controller. It's like if Tony Stark helps people in wheelchairs by giving them jetpacks. It's gonna suck in practice no matter how good it is on paper.
I work at a children's hospital and a child life specialist team was like, "Oh god, this is a breakthrough. If you think of kids with cerebral palsy, then they can maybe push one button. They don't have a lot of meaningful content throughout their day, but with Copilot, someone else can help with the tough bits and they get to have powerful gaming experiences."
Like if it works in practice, that's amazing. Good for Microsoft. Good for anybody who wants to help. I just find the idea to be very silly. Like, how would you expect people with cerebral palsy, for example, to be capable of playing complex games that require great reflexes without any issues? These people should be suited with a different type of game, one that is more casual and relaxing in nature, like smartphone games. I don't know what it feels like not being able to play games with certain disabilities hampering your experience, so good for Sony and Microsoft and any other companies for giving disabled people options to play games no matter how silly some of their ideas on paper.
This is a really important part of representation, giving people who struggle to play games the ability to join in and to be visible on screen.
Is that a requirement these days? You need to see yourself in front of the video game so that you can experience it? What's wrong with you being able to control whatever characters you're playing so that you can play the freaking game? What's wrong with that?
Games are now a habitual element of childhood and teenage life. It is isolating for people with different abilities or backgrounds to find they can't play and can't have avatars that represent them.
No, it's actually isolating for people to not be able to play games in general. So again, good for Microsoft for trying to help disabled people. Wait a second. Are you trying to put disabled people on the same level as non-white people on how they're not able to play games? Are you implying that disabled people not being able to play games is the same thing as non-white people not being able to play games because they're not being represented? I mean, there's entitlement, there's racism, there's ableism, and then there's this. I don't even know what to name this. This is like God-tier level prejudice.
It is isolating to not be thought of or considered in the culture you desperately want to consume and be part of.
You know how to be a part of the gaming culture? Play video games. Talk about video games. Be passionate about the subject of video games. Do you really need this inclusivity and making certain characters not straight white men in pretty much everything? What's the point of that? Just freaking play video games. Just talk about video games. Just do things that gamers do. Oh wait, you don't like gamers. You hated gamers. Gamers should be dead. Gamers should die. Gamers are dead. Like, fine.
In a media-saturated environment where messages of belonging are constantly transmitted via TV, social media, and smartphones, inclusivity is a lifebuoy. If you do not see yourself on Netflix, on Instagram, in games, and forums, where are you? Do you mean anything? It matters.
Wow. Like, holy mother of God. Please read that last sentence again.
If you do not see yourself on Netflix, on Instagram, in games, in forums, where are you? Do you mean anything? It matters.
Holy fucking shit. That is the most entitled, most selfish, most egotistical statement that I have ever heard in my entire life. If you don't see yourself in the entertainment media you consume, do you mean anything in this world? That's the sort of statement that would come from someone who would contribute nothing to society. That's the sort of statement coming from people who care more about being seen, who care more about being heard, who care more about the entertainment industry senpai to notice them, who care more about attention instead of merit, who care more about people saying, hey, people, please look at me. I have shit to give to you, but look at me anyway. I'm not straight, nor white, nor male. I'm an Apache freaking helicopter. Let me ask you, you entitled millennial cunts, is all of this diversity and representation thing that you spout in every single part of the mainstream media was nothing more than just you asking for people to pay attention to you? All of this fucking begging for representation was all because you want the industry senpai to fucking notice you. As in, I was fucking correct when I say that so many times, and you confirmed this, Guardian. Thank you. Thank you for confirming this. Thank you for having that sentence to be put out into the public and finally be honest to everyone and say, yes, all of this was just so that people can pay attention to me. I have no skills and talent other than the things I'm born with. I have nothing to say in this video game industry. I just want people to please pamper me and pay attention to me. This entire freaking society is legit turning into a baby daycare center. It's all about crying and whining and begging for anyone in the daycare to please take care of the babies who cry the freaking loudest. I wouldn't mind if nobody paid attention to these crybabies, but Sony and Microsoft did. Google did when they did that stupid diversity nonsense, which I did in another video. Big corporations did. Major news outlets did. One that probably made significant impacts during the fucking election. If they're willing to cater into these crybabies by goddamn lying about simple things like video games, what does that say on any other things that are more important? And no, I'm not crying, I am pissed. I'm not seeking for attention, nor do I want attention. If I become an insignificant member of society that nobody fucking noticed, so be it. I'll have more fun playing video and jerk off to 2D waifus in the freaking corner than be noticed by society. I made this video because I'm legit pissed off with that one sentence and I need to vent my frustration. There's never been a couple of sentences in my entire life that pissed me off other than that. I'm not kidding. I've read articles after articles after articles that piss me off to no end, and that couple of sentences is the one that triggers my berserk button. Do you mean anything? No, you goddamn don't, and you fucking know it. The best thing that you can do is to cry and beg people for attention. That's it. This is why I keep telling people to stop paying attention to these cry bullies and don't cater into their demands. You'll make them stronger for it. Just so you know that there are thousands of people on the internet, including me, that would help you against these cry bullies. These people are just a really damn loud minority that for some reason got noticed by senpais who just so happen to work in huge corporations because they cry too much. It wouldn't be so bad if these people are babies, but these are freaking adults. These people should just get one really hard slap to the face. I'm not asking you guys to slap a nearby Tumblrite, but I don't blame you if you have the urge to do so after they say things like this. Fuck me, that really pissed me off. Again, I should not be giving these people attention, but that's not the sort of advice that any of these big corporations follow. For fuck's sake, these people equate non-white people not being able to play video games with disabled people not being able to play video games. We're not done, and my berserk buttons are already pushed.
This is an aspect that came true in PlayStation's sponsorship of Pride 2. We have a very diverse staff, including a big number of LGBTQ people who went through the same challenges that many of our LGBTQ fans are going through right now, says Wheelan. If we can just show one of them that they can be accepted anywhere, in both gaming and in the real working world, and that gaming is not just about being super gender or sexually conforming, then all the months of work is worth it. That's why it's important.
How many times do I have to say this? If you play video games, you are welcome. It doesn't matter what race you are, what skin color you have. I was in a stream with so many people who are white, and that's fine. I'm cool with it because I have fun talking to these people. I can share my passion and hobby with these people. You're here just to divide people. You're here just to ruin things. That's all you do.
Representation isn't just a hot-button topic. It's not an intellectual argument. As the father to a son of the autism spectrum, I see that every day. I see my kid getting more comfortable with himself and with other children to sharing games. Almost everything else in his life is an emotional struggle. Games are his home. Way before this, games let me explore sexuality and gender at times where I've questioned both. I still have questions that I can't vocalize, and games still help.
Jeez, another appeal to emotion. At least you admit it's not an intellectual argument. I gotta give credits to you for being honest in this article. It's the painful truth, but honesty is appreciated.
We should always be thinking about this if we care more about the people around us. Being represented in the media makes you feel noticed.
Exactly. There you go. Glad that you're honest that it's all about making the gaming industry senpai to notice you. It's all about attention for your own emotional gratification. It's not for something valuable that can actually contribute something to the society. Nah, I just want to be noticed.
Role models, both on the screen and working behind the scenes, build assurance and ambition. It is so important that players often take the process into their own hands, as evidenced recently by the Sims player who set up forum to help people create characters with a wider range of skin tones.
The Sims has a very extensive character creation that allows you to select skin tones other than human. What more diversity do you need? How much attention do we need to feed you until you say enough? There's never going to be a point, because catering to these people is like filling a bottomless bucket.
When people dismiss representation as a political fad, as an imposition to create a process, as a means of ticking off lists, they are almost always doing this from a position of privilege.
Position of fucking privilege. I love this sentence because the next couple of parts is just freaking amazing.
The argument that it's not the gender, ethnicity, or physical abilities of a character that are not important, but whether they're written well and fun to play, is easier to make if you're already being comfortably represented. It is easy to assume your experience is universal, but it isn't.
So the argument of identity doesn't matter because the people who make those arguments are those who have already felt represented. Which in that case, I am brown and I came out from a developed country and I made that argument. Therefore, I feel represented. Congratulations! You just invalidated your entire freaking argument. By your logic, by your stupid logic, gaming has no problem with representation because there are going to be so many people from different races who are going to say the exact same thing to you. You're just a sad, pathetic human being who only wants attention and senpai is not giving enough.
All we wanted to do is show our support, says Group Marketing Manager Lauren Bradley about the Pride sponsorship. While we don't expect to change anyone's minds, we do know that there are many young people out there afraid to be who they want to be. If PlayStation can do anything to help them and make them feel part of a community, then we should.
As in, we should definitely notice these yanderes. They'll never ever stab us in the back ever.
Perez said the attitude at Xbox reflect this. As a girl growing up playing games, I was always like, why do I have to play as a boy? She says.
You're well aware that there are games in which you can play as a girl. Oh, the girls are sexualized. The games are not enough. Fine. Here are more games. And when is it going to be enough? When it finally represents me! That's when it's going to be enough, right?
But I'm still a white, straight woman who sees myself through our media and culture. There are so many people in society who don't get that representation. It's important that they feel more included in the content we're making. And part of that is to make sure they're working in the team so those conversations are taking place.
Fucking... And I think that sums up the people who are working in the gaming industry today. And people who are trying to shove in diversity left and right from either journalistic outlets or the gaming industry itself. It's all of that, constantly. Just them feeling guilty for being straight, being white, or being men. So if there's anyone who asks for diversity, it simply means, please notice me. If there's anyone who asks for representation, it simply means, please notice me. We're growing a bunch of crazy psychotic yanderes, and unlike their anime counterparts, they're not attractive at all. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click the like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. Thanks for watching.